It's one of those rare 90-degree days in New York City this summer, and a familiar sound echoes down a barricaded street. A fire hydrant cracked just enough offers a little relief. It's not a block party. It's called Play Street. For 2 months out of the year, the street is closed off, allowing Children's Aid Society to conduct one of its 20 camps for low-income youth. Like so many social service providers across the city, this block in East Harlem was just a few generous donors away from being traffic-clogged, no place for a child. Bill Weisberg, Chief Operating Officer of Children's Aid Society, is grateful help came when it did.
Other donors, 2 trustees, stepped up even when their wealth has taken a hit and said, I'm giving $50,000, $40,000 extra above my usual donation this year because you cannot close those camp slots for children. Camp is what low-income kids remember 20 years later. It's the joy, it's the fun. You cannot cut back your camps in a year when families are facing more stress.
This is Michael Falco on behalf of the Human Services Council. On today's show, we will examine the challenges human service providers currently face, which were recently highlighted in the report, The Helpers Need Help, sponsored by the Human Services Council and published by the School of Public Affairs at Baruch College, Center for Nonprofit Strategy and Management, and Baruch College Survey Research. Stick around.
It's almost biblical, you know. It's like when the Hebrew slaves were told to make bricks without straw, and somehow they did it. The people who go into this field go into it because they care, because they're passionate. That's why we're here, because they want to do what they do. They find a way to do it. Now, the danger in saying that is then the government says, or the foundations say, or the rich people say, well, what the heck, let's keep cutting them.
That's the way Michael Stoller, Executive Director of the Human Services Council, describes the work New York City's service providers do in a normal year. But, as Allison Sesso, Deputy Executive Director of the Human Services Council, says, their survey of human service organizations across the city, called The Helpers Need Help, showed normal became a distant memory when the economy nosedived last year.
The actual survey found some findings that are very clearly demonstrating what we kind of knew anecdotally, kind of what we've been hearing from our providers, and that's why we had this impetus to actually do this survey. It was amazing how many people felt, first of all, compelled to write a comment, which just shows you the frustration that they're feeling, that they really need, this was an opportunity for them to vent off the record about how they're really feeling. And a lot of the comments focused on their concerns for their staff.
Michael, do you mind reading me one of the quotes?
There's a couple of good ones. The increases in food, transportation, and housing costs, and no salary increases for staff have negatively impacted staff morale. We have working staff who are living in homeless shelters due to housing costs. This is nuts. This is insane.
It's fair to call this a perfect storm for New York's nonprofits. The survey found that 66% of respondents saw a cut in public funding, and 80% reported reductions in private funding. For organizations like Children's Aid Society, that means making tough decisions and cutting services that are now more vital than ever.
Think about what would be the service that principals want most. They want mental health service. The teachers don't have time. They have 35 kids in a class or 33 children in a class. They want mental health services. So we put them into our schools. We had to pull them out of several schools this year because of the public and private support collapsing.
There's less government money because there's less taxes. There's less foundation giving. There's less personal giving because of the uncertainty in the market, and the hit everybody took in the recession, including the government, means we get less. But it also means we have more clients. Because as the poverty levels go up, that's who we serve. So there is an increase in food pantries, for example. We understand there's an increase in domestic violence because the stresses at the house when more people are unemployed. So on a broad level, it cannot be worse for us. The resources are down, the need is up.
You want the Big Apple?
That brings us back to Play Street, where Midge Caparosa, who's been involved with the program at the East Harlem Center for 21 years, helps a group of children paint t-shirts.
Design your things around it, okay? What's most important to you about New York?
It's moments like these Bill Weisberg and the Human Services Council fear losing. The survey's results were distressing. The majority of human service organizations have laid people off. 73% of organizations have no financial reserves whatsoever, and 2010 could be worse than this year. But there remain intangibles that could help providers persevere, like committed staff and volunteers like Caparosa. Both Sasso and Stoller are hopeful the survey will convince others to start giving to social service providers.
There are plenty of opportunities to help on the political side, on the direct care side, on the advocacy side, or just the cutting a check side that would really enhance your life and enhance the lives of people you would help.
The bottom line is this year is going to make a big difference as to where we end up next year.
To learn more about the Human Services Council's report and what you can do to help New York City's social service providers, visit www.humanservicescouncil.org. At 1 p.m. September 9th, the Human Services Council and Center for Nonprofit Strategy and Management will unveil the full report at the panel, The Helpers Need Help, New York City's nonprofit human services organizations, persevering in uncertain times, at Baruch College. For more information, visit the Human Services Council's website and click on the Did You Know tab, or call 212-836-1230 to RSVP. On behalf of the Human Services Council, this has been Michael Falco. This is a Pro Media Communications production.